Hello. Okay, I'm actually here. Finally. Sorry, guys. Okay, there we go. Can actually see. Okay. Hey, Tara. Will Riders probably won't be up. So. Nikki, God bless to all. Tim, greetings, Nikki and friends. Hi. I know I'm 5 minutes late. I do apologize. Had some stuff happen. Anyway, I'm actually here. I'm actually live. Didn't expect to be late, but it's kind of how it is, doing a little bit of business. Okay, so for those who don't know, welcome to Restore Belief with Nikki. I try not to be late. It's just kind of how things are. Well, let's see where it's going. Where? Oh, that comes over here. This goes over there. So a lot has gone on. Oh, thank you to the new subscription. I just got a message about that. Thank you. Most appreciated. Tonight is a kind of a stressful night for me. And that's because of the topic that we're going to be talking about. And the main topic. Where do I even begin? So last night I was given some information. And it was pretty intense. Sorry for the red face. It's just, I got too warm. So tonight's topics are certain discovery of information. Is that information dangerous? Human combined ET programs. What, if anything, can be done? How much money is possibly involved regarding the use of conglomerates, corporations, organizations that are combined government hidden programs? So getting into all of that. So it gets into a pretty, hey, Amy, it gets into a pretty intense group of conversations, and it can be really a touchy subject. And by touchy, I mean government can get touchy because they don't like those items being discussed, those subjects being discussed. And so I'm sorry, I'm dealing with business. It's just been quite the difficult issue. I basically had a meltdown early this morning because of this subject, because of what has taken place in my life already and what I have learned and have had more memories of regarding government. Hey, Tim. So it's, I don't know, where do I start? So as most people know, I'm an ET abductee. I am also an ET human government abductee. Hey, sweetie. And so it's a very touchy subject. The humans on this planet that are government organized, government based, who are working with a few different races. Sorry, I'm trying to get this corrected. So then I got a roll of toilet paper sitting down there in case I start bawling, because hello, this is going to be a touchy subject for me. So basically, for those who have memories of this, for those who are going through memories, I highly recommend you get into support groups. There are not a lot of them across the country. Find ones that resonate with you. Be careful, because there are a lot of BS. And we're going to be delving into some of these topics. Pretty hardcore. Okay, that I don't like. I don't like how that appears. So anyway, basically, if you're part of any of the programs, because there are so many, there's Montauk, there's actually there's breeding programs in the government as well. There's also the super soldier program. People don't believe that that's real. There are many people who don't believe that that's real. I am here to tell you it is very real. I have only since I've only since learned that people have recognized me, not as a super soldier, but as a controller. And what I mean by that is somebody with headsets, with it's interesting because I haven't just had one person recognize me as that. I've had others. So it's kind of a big deal to me, especially when you've got childhood memories where you remember being controlled by human military as a child on board a ship. And that's not okay. And guess what, folks? It still goes on. It is still happening. And I've realized why I became an advocate for children. Off and on throughout my life, but hardcore in my late 20s into my early 30s, and for 20 years on after that. And Amy's bringing up a very, very good point, and those points are the fact of the money. Follow the money. Well, the interesting thing is, if our own government, if our own U.S. government cannot follow the trail of money, that speaks volumes as to how deep this goes and how severe it goes. So, folks, take a real good gander, real good look at all the different things around you. How much of it is controlled? So, as Amy has said, and she's an excellent researcher, the U.S. government has $45 billion a year in the budget that is not accountable to anyone, even Congress. She's exactly right. And she goes on and says that is 5 times the size of NASA's budget. She's right. Do your research. Do your own research on it. So when you make realizations of how you have been used as a child, how you have been used growing up, even through adulthood, It's interesting. Somebody recognized me off of a picture that I haven't posted publicly. They said, I can't figure out why I recognize you. And we eventually figured it out. So get involved in different groups. Go through the process. This is a process. If you are an ET abductee, if you are a MyLabs or Montauk or Super Soldier, whatever, if you are part of it, get yourself involved in groups to help heal who you are today and help heal the child or the teenager that you were when these things occurred. Because it's very, very important to heal your soul. I'm working on it. I went through the, after I'm trying to figure out how to say this. After I had the realization of different things, this morning I also had another major realization and another memory. Asked the other side about different things. They told me, do not talk. I got warned that my life will be in danger if I say what I want to say. I specifically got told that they will murder me. I didn't just get told that by my guides. I got told that by the angels. I got told that by the hierarchies. So, sorry. I'm having a hard time talking at the moment. So my point is, how dangerous is it to have a conversation publicly, to come out publicly? Because we're talking $1 trillion, not billion-dollar industry. We are talking now that's in my estimation, based on what I personally know and different people that I have talked with that, how do I say, have knowledge. That's all I'm going to say on it. And interestingly enough, the other side has confirmed it. You're talking major conglomerations. Okay, you're not talking just one or two companies that are global. You're talking conglomerate companies. You're talking them being heavily invested in US or other country military. You're talking $1 trillion or multi-trillion. Well, I got told it was a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And what's one life in, I mean, it's harsh to say it that way, but that's a fact. What is one life in comparison to what it is that they're doing? They don't have a problem in taking people out. That's obvious. Look at what they're doing to the people that they've either already taken out and the families, or the ones that are now whistleblowers that are trying to come out but do it in a legal fashion, in a form to where they or their family, their children, will not pay the consequences with their lives. This is a big deal, folks. So when I get told by the other side, not just one being, but multiple beings, that if I say what I want to say, that they will take me out. And I was told in one of essentially 4, I say 5, but they told me 4 different ways. And because of different people that I have known in my life that are now dead, deceased, and not of their own doing, that that's why I say 5 different ways. One of 5 different ways. Or combination if one or two don't work. Now, I've already been targeted because of that goddamn motherfucking book. Pardon my language, but I despise that book. But at the same time, they haven't stripped my memories of that. Yeah, they have screwed with the energy weapons with me enough to where I'm having short-term memory. But my long-term memory, honey, you ain't fucking with that. I'm fighting in every way I can. So my point is that I still have memories. Ouch. I still have memories of that book, chapter, verse, page by page, every name. And I do mean every name. I have a photographic memory. Every name in that book I could name if I had to. Do I choose to? No. There's only one individual, I will say this, that knows the description of the book. The full description of the book. And I know that they didn't keep the information. So, it's up to me. My own kid, you can't come after my kid because my kid doesn't, he was 2-3 years old when it was talked about. He's not going to fucking remember it. I've been so gaslit about that book, it's not even funny. And it is a very real book. It was one that I was told very specific things about it, how it was gotten, how the documents were gotten, and all of that. So, and at the time, the people had power. And the people that had that book, they had power. And they weren't the only one, because they made copies of it. I was once asked in 2019 if that book was ever out on the market, and I actually made a statement to that person stating that I've seen sections, pieces, large sections, small sections of it out on the market, out on the public market in different, I was going to say catalogs. That's not what I mean. They're books, but they're kind of like notebook books. I don't know how else to explain it. Anyway, yeah, Amy just said multi-trillion would be a slice of pie of the American economy and size. Yeah, exactly. Novella, says Robert. Yeah, it's very much in forms of novella. And it's interesting that some of the books that I have seen, some of these magazine type printed material, I mean, it's been shocking to me as to how much I've actually seen that has been put out. And then it's also interesting that some of the information, not some, but like in certain books, there's fake shit towards the middle of it, but yet the meat of the book at the front half is accurate as shit. I mean, it is like spot on. But the other stuff, I'm like, oh, well, that's crap. So, very interesting how some of these pieces are put out. But my point with all of this is how dangerous is the information that you yourself, we are victims of the governments, whether it's U.S. government, whether it's a different government, different country's government, because they're all, or not all countries are involved, but many, many countries are involved in this. But the U.S. government is heavily involved in it. There's two individuals that can confirm the hey Woo Riders. I don't know why that's coming up the way it is, but anyway, come on into the chat, hun. So basically, it's twisted. The whole situation is very, very maniacal. It's very twisted. It's very vile. What they're doing. Why use children? Because they're easily trainable. There's so many reasons as to why. It's really rather sickening. If you can maintain a sanity, that's a big one. Some folks don't, because it goes above and beyond what they can mentally handle. Quite honestly, if I hadn't have had the counseling that I did, I wonder if I would have been one of those people. I do pretty darn good in the grand scheme of things with everything I've been through in my life. So this is an important subject, folks. Look into these subjects. Look into the super soldier subject, whether you believe it or not. I've been told to my face, that's full of shit. Yeah, I don't believe it. Okay, that's fine. You don't believe it. You don't have to believe it. But look into it. Everybody has different deep dives they do, different subjects that they get invested in or are interested in. Water from upstairs, if you could hear that. I don't know if you could hear that through the microphone. But anyway, the point is in your deep dive, you will find more than you will ever thought you would ever come across. It is shocking how much is actually out there and how much of it actually is true. There's also a lot of BS out there, a lot of crap, a lot of lies. And then you get certain individuals, people who I'm not going to name. They're very well known in ufology. Anybody else can say their name in chat, go for it, because you'll know who I'm talking about, who have been recorded in legal documentation, in legal matters, saying that they made stuff up. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that is sickening. That's the kind of stuff that does this community, and we are a community. Those of us who are abductees in whichever way, whether it's ET related or ET human related or human related, and I mean government conglomeration, that kind of crap. I'm not talking about traffic. I'm talking about something very different than that. We are a community, and we need to come together. And we need to take a stand. It's time for us to take a stand and say, this is not okay. We need to fight for our own rights. We need to fight to live. We need to fight against the targeting. Even though you're dealing with a multi-trillion-dollar industry, because it is an industry, it's sciences to the extreme. And those sciences go beyond anything that the public knows about. This goes beyond the woo-woo factor. You're dealing with gigantic businesses. That's why I call them conglomerates, because they are. It's horrifying. So I really wanted to do 2.5 hours tonight. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. We'll see. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to delve into the chat or leave me questions if this is a replay that you're seeing. There are some things that I will answer publicly, and there will be some things that I will, and I'll tell you straight out, I'm not answering that publicly. Hit me up privately. That's for my safety's sake. If you can't handle the fact that it's for my safety, then that's on you. That's not on me. That's on you. I want to be supportive of people. I want to be able to answer people's questions to the best of my ability, to the best that I know now and understand now. And I want people to heal. We all deserve that healing. We all deserve to be free people in whatever way that means for you. It's not okay what these agencies, governments, conglomerations, forms of military, what they're doing. There's much of it that is absolutely not okay. Then there are aspects that are a good fight. They are doing right in certain aspects, not in everything though. And that's the shit I call out. Because the using of children, how would you like to be 8 years old and be cattle prodded? Electric shock because you're being quote unquote too defiant, because you're taking a stand because you know what they're doing is wrong. So instead, now they do things a bit differently. That was back in my day. I'm 56 years old. So think about it. Think about what those children are experiencing and how they're being forced to not remember. That's either being drugged or a form of ET use with the human, how they can control the mind, the human brain. There are many aspects to this that are truly mind-bending. This is a very serious subject. This is a very hard subject for me to talk about, to even approach. But it does need to be discussed. Greatly needs to be discussed. So take all of that into consideration. Think about what's being done to our human population. You're not just talking ET abductees here, folks. You're also talking the ET human element abductions as well, for very nefarious reasons and purposes. And that's really what I wanted to get into tonight, was the very serious side of this, because we've got a lot of folks who are actual, real super soldiers that have been built that way, been trained that way. There are men and women who have physical abilities to be able to do certain things in their regular daily life and don't know. It's like, oh, well, I have a need to do this, and they can't figure out why. Oh, it's something that I just wanted to do. Well, you might want to look into that if you are, of a specific nature. Because we're dealing with millions of people, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. We're dealing with millions, folks. You're dealing with an accumulation. What I'm saying is millions of people are a combination of either ET abductee or ET human abductee. That's a lot of people on this planet. A lot of people. Think about how invested those groups are. How many years this has been going on. In that book, 1932 and 1933 were the dates on some of those documents. That goes beyond anything that they've publicly talked about. They talk about, 1944, 1945, 1947. And actually, it goes a hell of a lot further than that. There are certain people that I know that have stated before the early 1900s. Think about that. Well, it's before certain things were taking place in the United States, in what we call these United States. So there are good, bad, and indifferent ETs, as I call them. I will always make that statement. Oh, and here goes the voice again. Let's see, what are we going to grab? Seltzer this time. Seltzer. So think about what's going on. I remember folks, when I was a teenager, I remember in the 80s, I remember people commenting, I would love to be an ET abductee. Or an alien abductee is how they classified it back then. I'm like, really? Huh. Interesting. Fascinating that is a thought in your brain. Well, that's because they've romanticized it. Don't romanticize this, folks. This is not romantic by any stretch of the freaking imagination. It's vile. There are some aspects of it as an ET slash alien abductee that are good, that are very good, because they're teaching. When I was a child, and this is something that I have been asked, how do I say this? Very carefully. No, because I've stated this a number of times publicly, so I'm just going to be blunt about it. I've been asked when I've had the government asshats attacking how I can do what I can do. Hello, MFers. Let's see, part of you guys taught me it, but in reality, major, it's not the word I was wanting, in major hardcore aspect of it, the good ETs taught me it. How I can do specific kinds of energy work. Well, let's see. I've been taught since before I was 4 years old. You build up to age 56 years old. Hello. There are things that can be done energy-wise that we can all do. You just have to know how to access different parts of yourself in order to do the different parts of your own energy and earth energy, space energy, and everything else. So you have to figure it out. If you haven't been taught by the ETs or by government, then you get to figure it out. Okay, so Amy says that would be the big question on the book. Was the information presented as a compendium of theories, or was it presented as a timeline of historic documented fact? It's a great question, Amy. The second half of that novella that I was referring to, as Robert called it, a novella, because I honestly don't know what else to call it. it was a bunch of crap. It was all lies. But the first half of that book that I read, I was like, holy shit. I was like, they literally used the same graph formation. They literally used the same font. Everything about, I was like, whoa. I recall it had many agencies and experts in those agencies as authors. Did they all agree? No. Tim, Aurora, Texas, UFO crash was in 1897, correct? Robert, or not be told you cannot. See that heart, somebody else has got to post something in chat, even if it's a heart or a funny symbol or something, because I can't read the next word. I bet it's the word of, or not be told you cannot of it. It's the letter O, but I can't read do it. Thank you, Robert. Or not to be told you cannot do it. Oh, see, it looked like a letter O instead of a letter D. Interesting. Anyway, so there's points to this. If we're dealing with a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it is an industry, folks, that's pretty frightening regarding being a person who's targeted. Imagine those that they target on a regular basis for years and years and years at a time. Those that they make because they have targeted with energy weapons for so long that they literally make them sick and that person dies. Hey, Stark Reality, welcome back to the chat. So it really becomes how dangerous is the topic, how dangerous is the subject you want to talk about. How much can it get you into trouble? Or could it cause your unaliving? It's really quite a hell of a thought process when you're dealing with conglomerates and big conglomerates, and many conglomerates, along with different governments of this planet. It's no wonder there are so many ETs who are coming in going, we want to have you start working on your energy. We want to raise the bar, basically. That's not how they say it, that's how I say it. They want us to raise our vibration, to raise our frequency, to raise the positiveness within ourselves because of what is taking place. Because the detriment that is taking place on this planet is doing not only the plant, not only doing the humans in, and the animals and everything else, because hello, it's also damaging the planet. So, and then you got all the political bullshit. And countries who barely survive. Their people barely survive because of famine, because of war, because of whatever. There's a lot. We're doing ourselves in, and a lot of these ETs that come in, the true good ones, are coming in and going, hey, let's rebuild. The only way we can do that is to go individual and make it to where we are helping you to change the frequency. And they're right, because when you change frequency from negative to positive, it literally shifts everything around you. It literally shifts the other side for you. And I don't make that statement lightly. It shifts the other side for you. So if you're doing a lot of negative, and if you're doing a lot of, thank you, Amy, for doing that. I appreciate that. I'll read it in just a minute. If you're doing a lot of negative or thinking a lot of negative, change it. Flip the script. Change the dynamics in how you think and in how you believe, because when you start doing that, and you start doing these deep dives, and you start doing the research, boy, can it make a difference. It'll be eye-opening. There are reasons that certain things are said in certain religions. There are things that are said, there are reasons that people make certain statements in all different sorts of communities, I'm going to call them, because I'm trying to avoid certain names, certain language, certain subjects in that way. Okay, so so Stark Reality says we're not going to make it here on Earth. Mankind is too violent and very evil at the top. We can make it here if timelines continue the way they are. And I recently, as of last week, got told that I need to be careful how I word that because of time, because I keep using the word timelines. If things progress the way they do regarding how we are in life now, in the year 3000 and 4000, yes, we will still be here. There are things that I have seen that a matter of fact, there are certain companies that are still ongoing that have been in the late 1800s, early 1900s that are still going on. Can I name them? Yes, I can. Will I? No. I've talked about it privately. Many people know about them privately, but I'm not naming them publicly. Although I will say, if one company chooses, and I'm a very organic person regarding herbs and health and things, but there are certain companies that I'm like, oh man, the sugar content, but that's every once in a while, it's fine. But if there's that one company, and I know they are not, they're a conglomerate, they're a worldwide company, and they're in every country on this planet. And I'm like, oh man, because I can tell them exactly what products will continue on in the year 3000 or 3000, what was it, 3000, 2000, what was it? It was 2455 and 3100 and something. I can't remember. I think 65 is what it was. I think, but don't quote me on that. They're still around. They're still making candy, but they're doing it in a way to where they make some major, major, major changes. Yes, Amy, that's the company. There's a certain but the problem is that now they need to change. They need to change to more organic items, and that's the only way that they are able to stay in business. And that's how they end up staying in business so long, is because over the course of what becomes our history, there are many major companies that have been going for a long, long time already, a couple 100 years, 100 years or more for some. The only way they stay going is to make some major modifications in their foods, and they make major shifts and changes in their products to where it's more organic, more better health-wise for people. It's fascinating, some of the things that I've psychically seen. Yeah, that is the company, Amy. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So Amy earlier had said, as in a grotesque economy, that the people are in famine, but they still have money to electronically harass the people. No, I'm not talking about that. Some of them do not have electricity at all. Those are the ones that I was referring to. And some of them have made major changes in their own countries in such a way to where they're trying to create, I want to call them trees. That's not what I mean. Certain kind of plants. They're planting in a very, very specific kind of way to create better an environment, a healthier environment, a more diverse environment, instead of being so stark and dry and arid and nothing there. So they're figuring out how to go about doing that, and they're in the process of doing that. They make some major changes in their country, so much so what I have seen, it literally becomes they reforest an entire area. It's absolutely mind-bending. So it's pretty fascinating stuff regarding that. But you've got these big conglomerates in a specific kind of industry that have their fingers in the pots of everything across the globe. That's some really scary stuff, folks. When you make the realization of just how detrimental some of this stuff is, it's very frightening. But you can't let it frighten you. That's the thing. Take action in your local communities, in your local home environments. I'm not saying become an activist. I'm saying get involved. Find out what's really taking place. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm not sure I'm going to answer that last one, Amy. I didn't read the other one, so hang on a second. Amy said, and I'm not going to name the company. Amy said, I think you said would still be around. Laugh out loud. Yes, she's correct. That one company is. Organic chocolate milk with natural dyes for the color. No, that's no, that's not what I saw. Robert, from cow to your door. Yeah, pretty freaking much. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, I am going to read that one out loud. Stark Reality. He's directing it at Amy. But will they be real chocolate? And he's got a question, like yeah, that's actually a good question, because there's so many things that they're going to be changing to continue products with, but will it still taste the same as, say, in the 1980s versus now? Because so many products have been changed so much that Amy, do the little ... for me, please, because there's a word I'm completely missing. In that's why I really haven't answered that question. Thank you. Will Pepsi still be around? I will sleep better if so. In 40, 50 years' time, yes. I'm not sure because I did not see that specific company. I did not see that specific company in what I was shown. Believe it or not, they did have organic equivalents. Yeah, in other countries. So there's a gentleman that I used to know. He was military, very very nice guy, really really good guy, and retired military. And he used to bring home. I can't remember. Um, and I don't want to say it. I don't think I've ever said it, but he used to bring home to his family different sodas from other countries. Everything from Italy to Dubai to, oh God, so many. I want to say France, but that's not it. That's not. I think Spain was one of them, and they didn't have the chemical, what I call chemical garbage, um, that American products have in them. And the taste, I got to taste Mountain Dew. Just by stating this, they know who I'm talking about. But um, I got to taste Mountain Dew from a different country, had no artificial BS in it. Tasted completely different. It was delicious. It was really, really good. Why they're not doing that here, well, we all know why. I mean, hello, bigger bucks in their pockets. Um, and our US FDA doesn't allow it allows certain things that, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, shouldn't be allowed in our foods. Um, uh, Stark reality. Lot of chocolate today is fake. Read the ingredients on everything you buy to eat. Yes, I agree. Um, Amy, at the health food store, they can make them now. They taste just as good, if not even better. The candy coated chocolates, that is. It depends. Well, part of that is they're using, oh God, they're using chocolate alcohol. So they're taking real chocolate and they're putting it into an alcohol form. So it becomes an extract. And in doing so, like somebody had given me, God, how long ago was this? December of last year, January of this year. Somebody had given me a small piece of chocolate, and it was a chocolate covered something, or I don't remember. I just remember it was chocolate, and I went, "Whoa!" Because I have a very very fine high taste buds. Um, Matter of fact, going into restaurants, I used to be able to tell the chefs their secret ingredient. Used to piss people off big time. I don't like I can give them exactly what was in their item, whether it was dinner or salad dressing or dessert or even iced tea. Um, if they were making homemade iced tea and different things. And so my taste buds are very, very refined. And I was like, okay, somebody else taste this different section, not the one I've been eating off, but somebody else taste this because this actually tastes like it's got extract in it. They're using a high percentage of extract versus carob versus a small percentage, very, very small percentage of real chocolate. And I could taste it. And I was like, horrified. I was like, well, I'm never touching that product again, ever. So, yeah, I mean, companies are trying to get away with downsizing. It's become too expensive for them, and they've got people who just love their products that have had their products their entire lifetime. And if you get people like me who've got really refined palates, it makes it very difficult. But kind of off the subject. Stark reality. Foods in other countries outlawed all the chemicals we have in our food here in the U.S. Yes. Well, not all, but many big name items. And he goes on to say, or they go on to say, and it's probably cheaper, not only for bigger bucks. Our food is made to make it. Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with that. Amy, everything in the U.S. has a, thank you. I was just going to ask you to do that. Everything in the U.S. has a corn aftertaste. According to foreign travelers due to high fructose. Try saying that 10 times fast. High fructose. Oh my God, I did it again. High fructose corn syrup. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big issue. And then you're dealing with genetically modified corn, which makes things even more difficult on the digestive system, in my opinion. So you're looking at, I mean, some of these companies, they're big conglomerates. Well, in the sciences, there are also big conglomerates. I was about to say a company, and I literally just got told, don't do it. So conglomerates have a lot of power across our globe, and we've got to be very, very careful. In many aspects. So that said, this goes right back into follow the money, honey. And if you can't follow the money because it leads to a dead end, you've gotten as far as you possibly can. Start asking, why is it? How, in what way are they hiding things? How deviously, how deceptive are they getting in how they are hiding things? Think about that. They've been dealing with children a long time. It's only been in the last few years, last 5, I think, 4 or 5, where things have actually gotten very vicious and information is actually coming out. And you've got to take a real good look at things. Take a good look at some of the people that are actually openly talking about things that they have witnessed. Pay attention to what's going on. It's not just the ET human government programs. There's a lot of very, very sick things that are taking place across this planet, and it needs to stop. And we need to take a stand against it. Everybody needs to come together. Those especially who are affected need to come together, take a stand, and go, okay, this is what I've experienced. This needs to stop. We need to create a healthier planet. And in order to do that, we have to take a stand with each other. And I'm not talking about causing anger and outrage. And I'm talking about realistic, safe ways to, and I don't want to use the word protest, but I don't know what other word that is going to work. There used to be a million moms march. Was that back in the 80s, early 90s? There was a reason for it. It's that's not true. There are some that do. Okay, so Stark Reality just said, and the ETs do not care. There are some that actually do. They actually, which is one of the things that I think you missed in the first part before you came in. There are ETs who do give a shit. They care about what happens to us, and they are trying. The only way that they know how right now to do that, to help us, is to individualize and to go at it in a way where we learn how to change our own energy and change our frequency. Because when we change the frequency that we have, we literally start making changes around us. And that is huge. Huge, 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 huge. Stark Reality, true, I stand corrected. They're fighting the damned, I think that says damned, type of humans we are fighting here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, thank you. Same. Okay. They are fighting the same type of humans we are fighting here. Okay. Yeah, they very much are. And they want the positivity back. I mean, it really wasn't back, but it has gotten, I mean, there's so much evil going on right now, and I call it evil because what else do you call it? I mean, it's really detrimental. So how do you go about doing that? Well, get involved. Start learning, start healing yourself, heal from within. I always say, being an ET abductee is a process. Whether you are straight out ET abductee or whether you are ET human abductee, it does make a difference. Yeah, granted, there are some ETs that aren't so great, and they will abduct for a wide variety of reasons, for their own purposes. But not all of them are like that. Then you've got certain ones that are working with different governments across this planet. Whether they're in the sky, out in space, other planets, or whether they're underwater or inside Earth. There's very many different races. Amy says, psychopath, clinical definition. Yeah. It's a hard reality. It's a hard thing to deal with. And you've got to want to heal. It's one thing to go through all of the trauma and all of the garbage, but you got to want to stay alive. You got to want to fight for yourself first. Heal thyself. It's interesting how different religions talk about that. It's interesting how different medical or alternative practices talk about that. It's interesting how even different ETs talk about that. Heal thyself first. Go in, start learning about yourself, Learn what makes, I was going to say make you tick, but that's not how I meant it. Learn what, turn the negative to the positive. Take the negative in your life and turn it around. And how do you do that? Well, step by step. Every aspect of this is a process. So that means dealing with it one little piece at a time. If you're depressed, get some help for it. Go the medical route, go the alternative route, go the counseling route, or do all of it. Start dealing with what's triggering you. Start dealing with the negativity that you've had in your life. Start healing the child within. That's really what it comes down to. Because the adult can heal. I mean, I'm a living example of that. The adult healed. I was horribly shocked to find out that the child in me, I thought, healed about a perpetrator in my life from my childhood. Till he showed up in spirit form because he had been dead. I was shocked at the little kid in me, at the response I had, the instantaneous response I had. It was a hell of a realization. The adult in me I was like, oh, you're here. But the little kid in me, holy crap, what a reaction, instantaneous. I hooped, hollered, and screamed and yelled and did the hooray thing. Woohoo, you're dead. You're on the other side. Right on. And then I was like, wait a minute. So make sure you heal that kid inside. And if you don't know what that means, do some research into it, because I am not getting into that. That's a whole different ballgame. Every one of us, what I will say is that every one of us as an adult, whether you're 18 years old or 58 years old or 78 years old, all of us have some version of us that's inside of us that is a little kid, where something has taken place or something has happened. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate the ... dots because that helps pop it up in the chat away from, which I love the heart. I love all the different things. That means a lot. But boy, when you're trying to read, it makes it very difficult. 1 in 147 people meets that definition. Oh, the term psychopath, yeah. 1 in 22 in the high security prisons. That diagnosis is actually a high bar to meet. Most of them not in prison end up in government or corporate jobs. Yeah. I agree and disagree with that. Some of them that are in government or corporations or conglomerate jobs should be in prison. So, yeah. Makes things very interesting. Anyway, okay, so I want to take a look at the phone because we're an hour and 8 minutes in. And we are at 11:13 p.m. Where, pray tell, art thou? Ba-dum. 1 second, folks, to be sure. Okay, so human combined ET programs. What can be done? Well, there are many of them. There are the MyLabs, like we had mentioned earlier. There's the super soldiers. There's the Montauk. Why the hell is Bluebeam coming in? Somebody literally just said Bluebeam. I've got choice things to say on that, but that's beside the point. There's so many different programs. Do your research into all of them. It's a big deal. Yeah. Amy said it's a difference between psychopathy and moral ambiguity. Some have a conscience and are just making themselves deliberately unaware of the effects of their actions. Yes. God, I had the phrase. Now it's gone. It in some circles it was called intellectual. I cannot pull it out. It's another I word. Um, Letter I. Anyway, yeah, it makes things wild. You know, people want to deliberately make themselves not aware of things, and in this day and age, that is really, really, really dangerous to do. Really dangerous. Um, do a deep dive into some of these programs. You will be appalled by what you come across. And I mean a deep dive. Um, there are a lot of different YouTube videos, people that talk about it, excuse me, that deal with the issue of some of these. I've been told on my labs, um, I don't know what I am. I don't know what program I'm involved in, but I've had not just one super soldier tell me they know me. Um, that's kind of scary in my book. Kind of scary at all. Let me know if there's something going on with my uh, internet. Let me know if you can still hear me, please. Let me know in chat. Um, Ba-dum-bum-bum. That's odd. Anyway, and we need to come together and create and build community. You know, being loud and clear. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. How do we go about doing that? Well, come together. Meet other people in those parts of the whatever it is you're involved in, whether you're an ET abductee or whether you're an abductee that is part of the ET military, from whatever country. Start coming together. Make contact with those that, and you might be surprised. You might have people start recognizing you. I've recognized people. So, like I said, I'm 56 years old. I've had people in their 70s recognize me. In their 70s. I was a child. And it wasn't until they themselves made a statement, not directly to me, but to somebody else, where I have a memory pop up of them and they unexpectedly show a picture of themselves and I start bawling because that is how I knew them at when they were much younger. And I'm like freaking out. So things start popping together. Things start coming together. Because I've always been one to go, well, that's fine. That doesn't, I'm sorry you went through that. Come to find out, I've gone through shit. things that I didn't remember because of how they have screwed with the brain. The ETs have done and dealt with the brain. Very specific way. And it's interesting because not all ETs have that ability. So to use certain races of ET that have that ability, that's wicked. That's really wicked. So start coming together with those if you've already got a community, become more involved. If you're not doing live broadcasts or recorded and posting, doing videos, post your information. If you have, gotta be careful how I say this. There are certain people that I know that have information, quality, genuine information. And I'm like, this is information that needs to get out there. Have you ever thought about doing a YouTube channel? Well, I can't be on camera. Fine, don't be on camera. You don't even have to use your own voice. Download a version of a speak, text to speak type of thing. There are free versions of those. Get something like that. Start doing a recording and start presenting what you've got. Now, granted, depending upon what the subject is, be expecting you might take some heat for it, but the information is getting out to the community. That's a big deal, folks. That's a really big deal. So think about those. Think about those things. They are important. Think about, same could be said for those. I just was thinking of Sasquatch. And over the weekend, early weekend, I ended up having a Sasquatch in my house show up, open up a portal, and I'm like, why does this place smells like wet dog? I'm like, oh, hello. Because they haven't been around for for me, a very long time. Okay, I've got to move this again because my legs are bothering me. Hang on a second, guys. Hopefully I don't bounce anything here. Okay. So, I felt how do I want to say this? I felt a sense of peace and love from this being, and they were gone. They were here. I don't even think they were here 2 minutes. 3 would be pushing it. Because that wasn't the first smell I was smelling. I literally started smelling, I had the words and now it's gone. There was a specific scent I was smelling, and it wasn't negative, but it was kind of shot. I'm like, where the hell is that smell coming from? And don't have a dog, don't have an animal anymore. And then the wet dog smell, the wet fur dog smell came in, and I was like, hello. And then it was like, duh, hello. And when they left, they didn't leave with a pop like they normally do. When they close the portal, there's usually a very loud pop sound. I felt a rush, but I didn't feel the pop like I normally do. I didn't hear it or feel it, which I very much appreciate, because sometimes when they close the portal, really intense on the ears. And I bring that up because I was thinking of some of the folks who talk about Sasquatch. In Washington State, Sasquatch is protected by a law. You can't hunt them. It's literally against a written law in the books. God, I can't remember what year it was implemented, but it's in Whatcom County, Washington State, north of me, Whatcom County. Yeah, I think about that a second. But anyway, so you've got situations to where people who talk about Sasquatch, they get a lot of shit for it. Well, you have to expect that. I get a lot of shit for talking about this stuff. That's why tonight I sent information to certain individuals, not many, but certain individuals, because I knew I was going to need the support tonight. Tonight is one of those nights, talking about all of this information, and I find it fascinating how our destiny always comes into play. So, how that affects everybody. How that can be triggering for some. How I just got told not to speak. It's not how it was told to me, but that's how I'm going to say it. So, do your research. Do your research on everything that I have talked about. Everything. Okay, folks? Those in the know, they know. They know what I've talked about tonight. They know what I've meant by everything I have said. For me to be told by the other side, by not just one being, being, not by just one being have I been told that if I say what I really, really want to say, I will be unalived in one of 4 different ways, or a combination thereof. So, do the research on everything I've talked about. Look into it. It's going to be a deep dive. Think about what I've talked about. Build community. Get involved. Learn names of programs. Learn what each of those programs do and how invasive they are. And remember, they're still dealing with children. I take great issue with that. They're still building. The mother bear in me comes out because I've been through it. You deal with do your research. Find a way, or help find a way, to put a stop to kids being used. I'm not talking about the typical regular, wrong way to say it, but the typical, I just got told FBI is watching. Well, that's interesting. I'm not talking about the typical trafficking. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about human military psyop deep, deep government who are also using and are conjoined with ETs. I don't give two shits if you think I'm nuts. I know what the hell I'm talking about, folks. Some of you know. You know very well what I'm talking about because you're one of them or family. Hey, Para. Para says, okay, I just got here, but I swear I'm not FBI. No, I know you're not, sweetie. Anyway, do a deep dive. Keep track of names of programs that you come across. Hey, Kira. Heading to bed now, but we'll listen as I drift off. We've talked about a number of things. Hey, love you, love. I have definitely not paid that well. And Tim, let's see some ID there. Yeah, that's funny. Anyway, hello. Something just popped up on my screen. There we go. Minimize that. Anyway, do a deep dive. Amy says there are good FBI agents as well. Yeah, there are. Just like there are good CIA agents. But there's also bad apples in all of them. So just be aware. But do your deep dives, folks. Seriously, do your deep dive. Pay attention, keep track of what these agencies are calling these programs. And be aware that not all programs are the same. And some programs have been going on since the 40s or earlier. Remember, I told you that book, that government book I read, had it 1932 and 1933. That was when their documentation started. They actually had presidential signatures. They had the knowledge of ufology. And such as only one individual in ufology has stated that it's a known legendary, that's exactly his word, legendary book. And that if they really did have it, that it would be locked away in some vault, buried somewhere. Well, I'm sure they don't just have one, but the book that I saw and read for 15 hours, more than 15 hours, actually like 18, but I think we actually had it for 18 hours, but I had my hands on it where I was conscious for 15 of it with the photographic memory. And that's the whole reason. That's one of the main reasons I've been targeted, was because I started talking about that book. So, it's the reason I and my family, it wasn't just me, I and my family got nailed with energy weapons. And it's the reason why we've had medical problems in a very specific way. And it's the reason why they have tried to, because I will not back down from this. I will not back down talking about that book. I will not back down from talking about the pages, talking about the font, talking about, well, I haven't talked about the size of the book in a long time. And this is all because and as I've stated before, mistakenly asked a retired agent if he had ever heard of the book. I have been threatened with lawsuits. 4 to 5 days after I asked that retired agent, I got targeted. Wasn't targeted before. I've had people that can verify that I've had government astral travelers in my home. I have people that can verify that. They've witnessed it. I had one who came and watched my back while I defended myself. So this is a big deal. This is a big subject, guys and gals. Try to say the word folks because everybody is so touchy about male and female stuff anymore nowadays. So I try to use the word folks and not in an offensive way. It's just so look. When I say do your research, I'm going to be pounding that until I am blue in the face because it is a big deal. It is a really, really big deal. You try having energy weapons directed at you in such a specific way that while you're on a live broadcast, I might add, go back to my August of 2023. I don't remember which one it is right now. I couldn't tell you, but go back into my August broadcast and you will see where I talk about energy weapon being where I'm being hit with an energy weapon and how they were trying to adjust the frequency to where I couldn't hear it or feel it. And guess what, MFers? And I'm not talking about the folks that are here. I'm talking about the government asshats. I can still feel it whenever you try. I can still hear it. The only thing that you have done to my brain, because I did some deep diving into this, the specific kind of frequency was to try to get me to become ill, trying to force my body to become ill, trying to force my body to have the great big C word. And I'm not talking COVID, talking a different thing. I'm talking where it literally alters your brain. Look into Havana syndrome. Look into everything that those weapons can do. You didn't just affect me, you affected family members. And it's made a significant impact on them more than me. There's a big difference. And if I'm targeted again, I will fight again. So, this is no joke. This kind of stuff, when you talk about these things, that's why that's why I worded things the way I did. How dangerous is it when you have discovery of information and that information needs to get out to the public? How far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to take a stand? How far are you willing to fight? Going after children, when I have made the realization that some of these programs are still continuing and they're still using children, you don't just hit the mama bear in me. You hit everything else in me. And I'm like, no, it is inexcusable to use children in the methods that they have. For years, and teaching them and training them to be, whether it's a super soldier, whether it's some other kind of combat, and they're not a military personnel. They didn't make the choice to go into the military because these are people that have been taken as children. I take real issue with that. There's no consent. There's no soul consent. This is a different ballgame altogether, and I take real issue with that. Any parent with a conscious brain that is love and protection in their heart would fight, not only for their kids, but other kids, if they were capable of doing that. Mine is grown. My human kid is grown and is an adult. My hybrid kids are grown and are adults. They don't want anything to do with this BS. Hey, Sandra. Hey, sweetie. Glad to see you. This is an individualized subject, but there are numerous programs where this is happening. These are conglomerations, corporate conglomerates that are working with military, global military, U.S. military, different other militaries across different countries. A multi-trillion-dollar industry. That is what the other side told me. And wow, did they pound it into me. So, look into this. Do your research, do your deep dive. I'm going to read chat. I haven't caught back up with chat in a while. Lovey love. I feel like I've had some frequency LRAD attacks, but it is at least a consideration. Amy, the good news is most NDAs eventually expire. Most after 5 years. Easy to check that. Yeah, some after 5 years, some are a lifetime. And some are even beyond a lifetime. Figure that one out. Ouch, 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 ouch. An Air Force friend from Amy. An Air Force friend had one that ran 20 years. After that, he was free to talk about everything. Yeah, they're different. NDAs, okay, if you don't know what an NDA is, it's a non-disclosure agreement, which means you are legally bound to not talk about whatever it is that you've agreed to not talk about. I've only ever signed 2 NDAs in my lifetime that I'm consciously aware of. One was to work at a photo lab downtown Seattle. It's no longer there. When I was, 19, I think, 19 or 20. Can't remember the actual age. And then the other one was from my mom when she had the virus. And they thought she was on her deathbed. And there were certain things that they that they wanted to possibly look at giving her, and basically used her as a test guinea pig, and I had to sign off on it. And the choice was, well, either give your mom this or that. This is what we know on each of them. And I asked the other side, I prayed and talked extensively with the other side, actually, and chose the right thing. I'm not going to say what it is or what organization. And yeah, had to sign an NDA for it. Well, I'm like, okay, whatever. So, but it saved my mom's life. Those are the only two that I am consciously aware of that I have ever signed. Didn't affect his vet benefits. Pension not affected. Amy says nope, he got all of them. He was just shocked that he was not read in on the stealth fighter and bomber, but he really did visit Area 51. Tim says, wow, I bet he has some interesting stories. Amy, yes, he does. He also worked with NASA as a contractor later. Whoopsie doodle. Why is this not? Thank you. Some of that is what he couldn't mention, but the Air Force stuff before that was fair game. I'm glad you had a safe trip, Sandra. All the stuff that I saw on Facebook, that was really awesome. I'm really glad you had a good time. Excuse me. Lovey Love, I want to visit my aunt and uncle to ask about their time in the U.S. Air Force. One was a pilot, one as a pilot, and the other as a worker for the FAA for a time. Lovey Love, I'm familiar with Havana syndrome. Yeah. Some folks are, some are not. Hey, Simon. Amy. Oh my God, there's a spider. That's a very fast-moving spider on my wall. I'm not dealing with it now. I pick spiders up and put them outside, usually. I wonder if he's going to go straight across. Anyway, that's going to get interesting. Just to be a pain. I revel in all I recall about my last life in the Soviet government. Yeah, I know you do, sweetie, says Amy. Amy, about operations of the GRU, their CIA equivalent, and how that building was accessed. Yes. Love you, love. Amy, please share. Love you, love. KGB, you mean? Simon. Hey, Nikki. Hope you are all well. Yeah. Love you, love. That's scary. I'm glad it worked. Simon. Amy. Science is good sometimes. Yes, it can be. Tim. To Simon. Hey, from down under, good to see you. Come on, fingers. Why is this not working right? I saw a camel cricket. He's a goner, if I get it. Yeah. They are invasive and have been rebuked from this. Yeah, I understand that. I don't know where the spider went. It's probably underneath the wall hanging. Good question, Simon. I'll answer that in just a minute. Para. Oh my God, I thought a spirit was telling that one of us had a spider in our rooms. No, you can actually see, whoops, you can add a little bit. Wait a minute. Over here. There we go. God, this is backwards for me. Sorry, guys. There was a spider that you could see from here, and it went behind my chair. It hasn't come. Oh, God, I'm backwards again. There we go. It hasn't come back over this way. So it makes me think it's gone underneath the wall hanging. That was interesting. Well, that was a pretty good size one to show up on the video. Spiders usually don't bother me. Okay, and Amy, and they had tunnels under the IMBP so they could enter there instead of showing up at the GRU entrance. Lovey love. How long ago, Amy? 1970 was. I was last there. Amy left that life in November of 70. In another body in the U.S. by February of 71. Lovey love. I can deal with spiders so long as they make me think they are brown recluses. I can't identify them still. Spiders on the. Tim says spiders on the floor are fair game for me. Lovey love, as they don't make me think they might be a brown recluse. Tim, if they were up on a ceiling, I'll keep them for company. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll leave them. Yeah, I understand. Okay, so Simon, in answer to your question, he's saying, so Simon the Likeable is saying, Nikki, is the frequency weapon thing localized to your house or like psychic attacks from afar? I've had psychic attacks from afar. They've tried that with me. Didn't work. Hey, Jim. It's good seeing you, hon. So in answer to that question, they were satellites aimed directly into my apartment. And I mistakenly believed it only affected me. Come to find out it wasn't. It affected family. So that, and you can, if you go back into the August 2023 video where it's, I think it says energy weapon or DEW, direct energy weapon, you will find it there. You'll find the information there, and you'll see how they try to switch the frequency because it's so high I could feel it, and they tried to get it to where it was at a very low level to where I couldn't feel it. The thing is that I feel energy weapons no matter what frequency it's at. I can feel it. Okay, I gotta switch again because my tailbone's starting in again. What about that? Okay. Gotta move the bra up. Sorry, guys. Hey, Christine. It's good to see you. So yeah, it just, this kind of stuff, you're dealing with, it's a way where energy weapons used on a human body, it literally will cause anywhere from minor to very, very severe physical health problems. It can even cause, especially on the brain, it can cause a lot of problems. And what I realized that they were trying to do with me was to get it at a frequency to where it was going to affect my brain to where I wouldn't be able to talk about the book, the government book that I read at 18, 19 years old, and where I won't talk about it. And that's not happened. So I still remember it. I still remember all the pages. Those memories are in a lockdown. Thank God I was trained as a teenager how to lock those down, how to lock memories down. And then I was trained as an adult via a number of people, but then one specific person came into my life who, I'm just going to be blunt, he worked for the government. He knew what the government did, how they did it, what they were doing. And I mentioned the book once to him, and he said, by God, Nikki, don't ever talk about it because they will start targeting. I didn't believe him. There were a lot of things he used to tell me I didn't believe him on. I had to find out the hard way on a lot of the stuff that he told me. And because I was very naive in a lot of ways, and very much didn't want to believe that those kind of things could take place, and how nefarious our government is, combined with the conglomerates. It's pretty sickening, pretty vile. What they are doing, what they're capable of doing, what they have done. To use a cattle prod on a child, granted it was in the 1970s. I don't know what they do now regarding kids, but to do that in the 1970s, to do that as against a child, because a child refuses to comply because the child knows that what they're doing, what the adults were doing, was wrong. And what they were trying to force a child to do was wrong. And you stand your ground, and you got electrodes. You got shot with electricity. Actually can talk about that with not crying now. It's taken me a bit. Usually a pretty fast processor of information. For example, this morning, I had a meltdown because of information I was told by the other side. Yeah, it is horrible, Tim. And that's why I'm very, very much against it. I'm like, what is going on? These children need to be protected. You can fight it as much as you want if you're in a program. There are ways to fight it, but you will have consequences. But that doesn't mean that you stop fighting. You find other ways to fight. So yeah, it just gets very, very twisted and very maligned, and And the fact that these programs are still in force, it's quite frightening. So think about what's going on. Think about if we're not able, we can only track the money so far. Even our own government can't track a certain percentage of the money. It's about finding your community. Find your community, get into counseling, start healing your soul, start changing the frequency. I'm going to repeat this until I'm blue in the face. Change your frequency. Heal your emotional side, the psychological side, the body side, the soul side. Work on it. It is a process. You are worth that time, that energy, that effort. Don't ever let anybody else tell you. Don't even tell yourself that you're not valuable, that you're not worth it. You are of value. You are worth it. You deserve to be here. Seriously. Stand your ground. We all have to. We all have to. Life is about choices. So, anyway, 1 hour and 56 minutes. Does anybody in chat have any questions for me? If you are seeing this on a replay, please ask me questions down below in the comment section, and I will get to a response to you. And if there's something that I will not tell you publicly, I will likely tell you privately. I'll tell you how to reach me. You can either reach me on Restore Belief with, hang on, I gotta think. Restore Belief 2022 at gmail.com. You can also reach me at Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Nikki, Nikki, Jacobs, JACOBS.376. Private message me on Messenger, and we'll have a chat. Tell me you saw this and what information you want to know, and we'll have a conversation. I'm very, very, very particular about who is on my Facebook page. So please don't take it as an offense if you have friended me and I have not. I'm super, super selective about who I've got on my Facebook page. Because it is a private page and it does have personal information in there. So I'm very particular about that. I do have a public Facebook page that is Nikki Jacobs Psychic Medium. That's linked to my Facebook page. So if you can't find that page on Facebook, then go to my regular Facebook page, and it'll show a link to it. You click on the link, and it'll take you right to the Psychic Medium page. So, and you can leave me messages that way too. So, Amy, think military and intelligence satellites in geosynchronous and okay. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Amy. Monai orbits? Tim is asking, does that mean that they seem to stay in one spot? Amy says yes. Amy, 22,000 miles up, but they can aim at any point. That would take some amazing precision, laser level precision. Tim, thought so. I used to see blinking light high up in the sky, never moved, always wondered what it was. Amy at Tim probably was not a geosynchronous satellite. They are only at 20 or so feet wide, sometimes with dishes. Not possible to see it that far away. As to what it was, who knows? Tim, interesting. I used to live at 5,400 feet, and I would see all kinds of things back then on a moonless night. Oh, I'm sure you did. Amy, most satellites run straight lines, horizon to horizon, in about 7 minutes. Sandra, I'm not going to read that one out loud, but I would say that would be a warning. Could be just another dream. I'm not picking up anything about it, but I would take that as a warning of something specific. So do some research, as to what's going on. Sorry, guys, and start to hurt again. What's going on in your life? Are there any things that are dangerous? And if not, yeah, you're welcome, sweetie. If not dangerous, then is it something that's potentially coming? Is it something that your instinct has kicked in because something you saw that you didn't recognize, that your conscious brain didn't recognize, but your subconscious brain did? That's when you've got to start asking questions, because that can come into play. There are things that we play out in our dreams that we have witnessed in our daily real life, and we didn't register it in our conscious brain, but in our subconscious brain, it recognized it, and it's trying to warn us about whatever it is. So take that into consideration. If that wasn't it, then consider it a dream. But if it felt that real, yeah, I'd start making some inquiries into daily life and into things that you may have witnessed that you didn't register. So just an FYI. Or was it somebody to come and play? That's the other side of things. That's where it gets really convoluted and wicked. So, Simon, I'm not going to repeat that one either, but yeah, I would say that would be past life. That's actually, you said it said maybe in a past life. Yeah, I would be saying the same thing. So anyhow, trying to think if there's anything else. No, I think we're pretty close to being done. Just do your research. Deep dive into your subjects. Ask questions out loud. Write questions down, but ask them out loud as well. Because basically, by doing that, what you're doing is you're putting it out into as some people say, out into the universe. I don't like that terminology, but if that is what makes sense to you, and then that's what works for you. To me, it's letting the other side know, look, I want answers. And you may get answers right away, either instantly or minutes later or days or weeks or even months later or even years later. But you will get an answer. So write it down, speak it out loud, think it, put it out there. It's a way of putting it out there. You don't have to have anybody around, anybody physically around to voice this. You just need to voice it into the air, so to speak, and your spirit guide will go, okay, well, they really do want this information. Let's get them this information. So that's one way to deal with that situation. So shifting energy. Excuse me. You can ask okay, now here's something. Depending upon how in tune you are with yourself, you can even walk up to a tree. I wouldn't do it to a bush. But you can even walk up to a tree, gently grab onto it, and ask your question and say, this is what I want to know. Now, if you're in tune enough, you can hear the tree respond. Did you know that? But if you're so in your head, if you're so into your own head and your own thoughts, you're not going to be able to quiet yourself enough to actually hear. Or if you're trying too hard, that you may not be able to hear. So it's literally going outside, taking a deep breath, clearing your energy, trying to ground and center yourself, preferably without shoes on. Even if you're just wearing socks and you got your socks on the ground, do it that way. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had something that just popped up on my screen. Yeah, I understand that, Simon. I a lot of times will do one or the other. Sometimes I'll do both. Sorry. But yeah, if you're really silent, you can actually hear. You can actually hear the trees speak. And not just the trees, but your plants. I have indoor plants that talk to me regularly. Not daily, but on a regular basis. Even when I don't pay attention, they're like, hey, we need our light. You got to water us. So, especially when you're dealing with over a 60-year-old Christmas cactus. So, very large Christmas cactus. I love this baby. Thank you, Dad. My dad is the one who gave me my Christmas cactus. So, actually, when I was a child. So, that was kind of a very special thing for me. So, anyway, there are ways, there are avenues, there are things that you can do for yourself to help start healing yourself. Amy, I had to really stretch my mind to accept the idea of sentient plants. Yeah. A lot of folks who are very into the sciences, very, very into the sciences, I mean, it's almost too woo for them. But plants are living, they are sentient. I'm almost to the point where I'm thinking like carrots. Don't know how else to say that, but I'm getting to that point where, like if I go to make a salad and you've still got the greens on the salad or on the carrots or specific size stems on certain veggies and stuff. I'm like, okay, thank you for my food. which is bizarre to me. I never used to be like that. Never, ever, ever. This has been, again, this is another process. It's not me being crazy. It's literally me looking at all the different things that really are sentient life. What's fascinating to me is that trees have roots. They've got roots that go so far down. They've got sucker roots that go so incredibly far down. They literally connect to other root systems. And they can take you, if you're a psychic or you're a medium, and you find a tree that says, yeah, you can touch me, and run energy. You will actually, they'll actually take you in a higher consciousness state, in a higher consciousness state, literally through their root system. Hey, Joe. Would you look at that? It's good seeing you. Not a clue, Amy. She's asking, why is one okay to eat and another not? I don't know. I just ask. I just say thank you because it's kind of it's a learning process. I've come to learn. Yeah, it's good to be seen. Yes, I hear that one. Very, very well, dear. Um, Simon says we give them our nutrients when we die too, so I guess it works both ways, maybe. Yeah, I tend to agree. Amy, it challenges my ethical system to be in a catch-22 of eat or be eaten in a sea of sentient beings. Oh, I understand that. So yeah, I mean, it's a real mind F, I mean, you start thinking about that, it's a totally different way of thinking about things. I mean, there's an older movie from the 90s, early 2000s that I enjoy watching periodically, and there's kind of a character in it. I cannot think of the name of the movie right now. And there's the main character. He's out on a blind date. Somebody brings in a blind date for him into this group of people at a dinner party, and she says she's a fruitarian, and everybody kind of raises their eyes and asks her, what does that mean? Well, I believe that vegetables and fruit are living, and so I don't eat them. I'm thinking, what the hell do you eat then? Every time I've seen this movie, I'm like, what? But I'm beginning to understand. I'm kind of in the Avatar sense of, if you go to kill an animal for food, you thank it for its life because it gives you your food, your protein, your nutrition in vast various ways. So I'm getting to that point now in my conscious thought and in the process of my life. And do I do that all the time? No. Am I thinking all of the veggies no. It's a process. Life is a process. Life is a series of choices, and this is something that I have been learning over a great length of time, and has it been a mind bender to even for me to wrap my own head around this idea of this. Okay, Amy, breatharians that say they can live on air and sunlight alone. Wow. Okay, never heard that before, Amy. Thank you for that info. Simon, I'm not going to say that, Simon, but I will say a guy I work with says he tries to choose the lesser life form to eat, but will eat beef if served it. Beef, pork, chicken, fish, veg in that order. Well, that's interesting. I never would have thought of that. Amy. Christine. Oh, yes, I have heard of breath and sun. I haven't. I'm just, wow, kind of blown away by that. Amy, do I believe it? I would need more evidence regarding breatharians in physical form. I understand that. I think I would too, but I mean, then I've come across where I've had people tell me that they're so in tune with their body in such a very specific way when they have to have, or really honestly need to have dental work done, they don't do Novocaine or pain meds or anything like that. They literally go into a meditative state. I know people that have done that. Not in that regards, but in other medical situations. And it's a mind meld. I mean, that's a hardcore mind F to wrap your head around. I mean, seriously. Tim, there's a cult of the sun gazers in Arizona. That's the first I'd ever heard of that. I mean, this is the first night I've ever heard of. I mean, I've heard sun gazers, but I've never attributed it. Yeah, never have attributed it to that. Sun worshippers, I've heard that term too, but flat earthers, and there you go. See, yeah, I get it, Tim. Amy, sun worship. I am actually considering that. Yeah, I can understand that. I have friends who couldn't stand living in Washington. They moved out of Washington State. I get it. It wasn't warm enough for them. And one of them is in a place that is like 70 degrees all the time. Not a lot of ouch. Not a lot of rain, not a lot of heat. So it's kind of an ideal climate for them. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, that's really cool. I mean, you got to do what you've got to do for your individual self. And a lot of some people can't handle that. Para, the clip I saw about breatharians, the ladies being featured said they would occasionally indulge in cheesecake. Joe, as human beings, we all we need are our 4 food groups. Joe. He says alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, and spam. No, honey. I'll disagree with that. We've had conversations over this before. Oh, and Tim's agreed with Joe. Simon, yeah, people can go too far into the woo. I think certain things are true no matter your beliefs. Amy, think about it. No sun, no life here. More would it have developed here. Nor. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant, as nor would it have developed here. Christine, I'll do cheesecake, but no spam, man. Yeah, I'm not a spam person by any stretch of the imagination. Tim, agreed. Weird how they all end up in one geographical area. Yeah, Joe. Joe says, "Yes, we have, Nikki." Yes, we have. We've had those conversations, Joe. Um, so anyhow, I survive, and I'm a magnificent example of a human being. There you go, Joe. Para, what about cheesecake flavored? Oh my God, para, that's disgusting. Oh, that's the no, no. Uh, uh, cheesecake flavored spam. God, para, that is nasty. uh, yeah, Christine agrees with me. And Tim's laughing. Joe says I love cheesecake. Yeah, I never used to be a cheesecake person, but after someone I know, their sister makes a wicked many that she perfects. Is how I should say it. She perfects cheesecake to the nth degree, and it wow, it is good. Um, so anyway, but I don't have it very often. It's like wow. Um, it's a heck of a treat. Anyway, they got into the spam comments. uh, anyhow, so we've got about 8-9 minutes left, and then I'm gonna call it a night for me. Um, wow. Thank you for the humor. I appreciate the change in the. Speaking of which, changing frequency, find something that is humorous to you, something that gives you the real. Oh God, you guys! Oh, the chat. Find something that creates humor that you enjoy. Um, sorry, popping on my toes. Find things that create laughter because when you laugh, you change the frequency in your body. You literally change the vibration in your brain, in your environment when you laugh. There is a scientific, um, uh, it's been proven. I can't think of what it's called at the second, but anyway, it's science and it's proven. When you laugh, you literally create better things in your body and in your brain. It literally shifts energy and it literally changes frequency. So get yourself to laugh. Find things that you find are funny. That will help shift energy, will help shift frequency, and it will do positive things for your body, especially if you're having a negative day or a hard day. It's one of the things that I did after this morning was so difficult, and I had a meltdown, and being told that if I did reveal very specific information, um, that they were going to do me in, that they would find one or combination of 4 different ways to do me in, and for revealing the info. And I literally, I went from absolute utter shock to being a full meltdown, crying, hard, uncontrollable crying, shaking. Well, I went through shaking first before the crying kicked in, and then the crying kicked in, and then I went through coming out of it, and then the anger hit me. And then I went, I gotta change this. I've gotta look at things on the internet, things that are gonna bring positivity, bring happiness, bring laughter, and make me feel better. And those are the things that I do for myself. I don't go through a meltdown very often. I mean, well, this is the second one in 2 weeks, but hello. Um, God, you guys. You guys in chat just cracked me up. Anyway, so you've got to find things that help you and help you get through difficult situations and bring positivity back in. Don't stay stuck. If you stay stuck, then you've got to change up your routine. Change up your routine, change up how you do things to bring that positivity back in. And well, I wish that were true, Joe. Laughing does change frequency. He's saying it changes frequency, but it keeps the aliens away. Not necessarily keeps them away, but it will change the frequency. True, Simon. True, Nikki. Making people feel special makes everyone feel good. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a big deal. So change that frequency. Find things that create joy. Find things that bring happiness. You've got to. Oh, I'm getting tired. I'm getting the line underneath my eye. That's not a good sign. Anyway, Sandra, after smelling coffee beans, my 2-year-old granddaughter whispered, "I found God." We all laughed so hard. See, now I know some kids that would have done that with bubblegum smell. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, I knew some kids that were like, oh, that was their thing. It was the old Hubba Bubba bubblegum type of thing. They were like, oh, that's the thing. And then they came across Skittles. Oh, God, that's a different ballgame altogether. And then they went from the Skittles into these gummy worms and the sour gummy worms, and oh my God. So yeah, kids are into it. That's quite. That's actually really good. Whoa, para watermelon hubba bubba was the yeah. Oh my God, how funny. First whiff, Amy, that first whiff when the seal is broken on a can of coffee. Really religious experience. I'm like that when it comes to black tea. I can't stand coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, guys. But I love really good tea. And there are certain kinds of black tea with orange that is just like, just divine. So, oh my God, Joe said it again. Oh God. Oh, Tim, recommended by 9 out of 10. Yeah, no. So, yeah, I do not like the smell of coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. So, oh my God, you guys are cracking me up. I appreciate that. Anyway, 2 minutes. I got a 2-minute warning, guys. So are there any questions and comments? For those that are in the chat, do you have any questions for me before I go? Joe, you're not that old. Joe says, I'm so old, I remember candy cigarettes. I remember candy cigarettes too, dude. God. There were all sorts of things that they had that weren't, chain smoked. Yeah, I think a lot of us did. A lot of us Gen Xers did. Not a 2-minute answer one, but next time, Nikki. Simon, just ask. It's okay. If it's something I can answer, I will answer it. Wait, we're not doing an all-nighter. No, we're not doing an all-nighter, Tim. My tailbone and my sciatica will not allow me. Smart aleck. So, Simon, just ask, honey. I'll wait. It's okay. You mentioned, okay, so Para, you mentioned listening to trees, etc. How can we discern if we're hearing something other than ourselves? Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, usually the first answer is the God, I haven't thought about that in forever, Tim. Usually, okay, so Para, when that happens, you usually have two responses in the head. Usually, not always, but usually. The first one is the one that you want to listen to, usually. So if you have a yes or no response, and the answer is yes, and you're instinctively automatically saying no, Para has a good one. Okay, all right. So hit me up with it either in the comment section or next Wednesday. I could not do last Friday. I tried as hard as I could, and I couldn't do it. So yeah, that's usually it. If sometimes it has to do with how, okay, our conscious brain wants to respond. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this. It's going to be my answer for tonight. But, and I may change my answer later on, but what happens with me periodically is I will ask the other side a question, or I will have my hands on a tree, or a small tree, or a large, noted, okay, a large tree or a small tree, and well, not a real small tree, but something that's got some girth on it. Stop that. Anyway, you'll hear it automatically. That's the response. The one that comes in a fraction of a fraction of a fraction later, that's the one you don't want. That means that you're not shutting your brain down enough. And that can happen. It means that you want to respond to the answer. Ow, stop it. Sciatica is just wreaking havoc right now. Yes. Simon, at that remark, yes, that's what they're laughing about. I'm going to start laughing too again. Anyway, didn't even think anything of it. It wasn't a pun either. Anyhow, so that's how I think of it. I know other people can explain that much better than I can. Part of that, I think before the targeting, I would have been able to answer that in a much, much more succinct way. That's one of those things that the Tim, don't start your laughing. There's certain people when they start laughing, Joe's one, Tim's one, Sandra's one. There's a few others. I get the giggles and I won't be able to stop laughing. Anyway, Oh my God. I gotta not read chat when I'm trying to talk. Holy shit. I know. I know. Um, Joe, Nikki, speaking of trees, tell them the story about the giant trees that were being knocked down at my place. Oh, holy crap. That's an understatement. Um, yeah, we were trying to. Joe contacted. God, what was this? Last year or the year before last? I think it was 20. Oh, it's the winter of 2022 into 2023, I think, Joe. I think. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that. But basically, yeah, they literally, he's sitting outside at night and was hearing um, the trees being knocked down. It was crazy. So he contacted me, and I was like, oh my God. He had a rogue, God, I can't remember if it was a rogue Sasquatch or a rogue dogman, but he had a being going through, and they were pissed. And I remember being in contact with Joe, I think for like 2 or 3 days after that, or 2 days after that, I think. And he was having to do extensive cleanup. Granted, there was some wind, but it wasn't the kind of wind that should have knocked these diameter of trees down. These were being knocked down by a being, and it was a rogue. And is that one of the times, Joe, where Sasquatch came in and they basically protected their own, but they kept an eye on you? Is that the one that I'm thinking of? Yeah, no wind. Okay. And I remember you and I were on the phone for a while because you could hear them from where you were at. Um, God, it was a trip and a half. It was quite a wild experience. Um, yeah, periodically they cloak, Tim, but not very often. Not very often at all. But this was it was angry, wicked, nasty. And there's more to the story than that, but that's essentially it in a nutshell. There's a lot of stories off of Joe's property that I could easily talk about, but I'm not pulling an all-nighter tonight, guys. We're at 2 hours and 37 minutes. So, um, no, they broke them in half, Christine. Um, yeah, yeah, there was Joe says huge trees knocked down, no reason. He's exactly right. I mean, some of them were pushed over. Some of them were broken. They were broken a specific way, and I can't remember if they were like broken in the middle or broken down towards the bottom, but it was deliberately done. And this being was big, and it was pissed off royally. I mean, I was like, "Do you got your scatter gun with you, babe? Because hello, you need it." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've always, whenever I'm out here, and I'm like, so yeah, Simon, great show, Nikki. I'm glad you sound happy. Take care, everyone. See you in the next one. Olympics time. Yeah, the Olympics are on. Tim, that's nuts. Yeah, it was, Tim. It was downright balls out crazy. The stuff that Joe has taking place on his property, it's often enough to where it's like, wow. But he and his family, they're protected. They're protected in a very specific way, and I'm very, very glad. Oh, that's the one where it was. Okay, hang on a minute. Joe, something big was knocking down some really big trees. They're still down. Well, this sounds stupid, but of course they didn't get up. Joe, Nikki, you told me that something horrible came through the area and the Sasquatch were protecting me in the area, but they were afraid of whatever the hell it was. We were alive. Yeah, we were. That's the one with the being. That's what it was. It wasn't, it was, but it was rogue. And it was big. It was bigger than the Sasquatch. I might be able, if I'm get on Joe. Oh, oh, bugger to beans. I can't remember where you're at, dear. Okay, go back to live streaming. Joe, write the at symbol. Do do it like this. At, oh God, yeah, it's not letting me. Amy can do. Amy's the only one that's on here right now as a mod. Well, Amy and Robert White. Do the at symbol, like at, and then do the I can't think. Yeah, we were. Yeah, the at symbol. Yeah, at, and then put a space between it, and then the part of the link, and then separate the link, and I will connect that, because I could have sworn I had you up on here, Joe. And I'm not finding it, which is weird, because it should be here. I could have sworn I had your YouTube. There you are. God, why couldn't I find you before? Hang on a minute. Something cloaked. Is that the one you want? Sasquatch protect us. Yes, they do protect you. Okay, hang on 1 minute. Let me click mute. Pause. Okay, and share. 11 months ago. Okay, hang on. Paste. Is that the one you're talking about, dear? Yeah, Joe says, me and Nikki were live on podcast when this was happening. Sierra Nevada just was. That's the one that's labeled something cloaked. Okay, let's go back, and yeah, that one. Yeah, it's a we had quite the time of it. I was not happy. I remember the Sasquatch now. They were really freaked out. See, and that's where the targeting has affected some of my brain. Those are not long-term memories like the childhood stuff and the 18-year-old and the 30s and the 40s. This is a different ballgame. This is current stuff. So that's why I'm having a harder time remembering it. Yeah, it was scary, Sandra. Once somebody like Tim wants to put that link up. You didn't get it cleaned up, or do you have to leave it out of respect or something? They were huge trees, Christine. Huge trees. It was bad. He had a lot of cleanup to do from other because wasn't it right after that you had that's the one. It was a windy day and something ran up next to the Explorer, stood there for a second, then ran around down the road. Yeah. You can actually see the frequency. You can actually see it's cloaked. You can see the cloaking as it's going by. But the one with the knockdown of the trees, there was no wind that day. It was, I think, the day after or the week after, something like that, where they got wind, and he had a hell of a lot of trees to clean up after that, after the wind. But there was no wind on that first one, not with that thing roaming. I didn't know what the hell it was. And I was really worried for him and his family's safety, because this thing was big. I mean, big, 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 gigantic big, and tall big, and you could hear it. You could hear it when he and I were talking. There was some kind, if I remember right, wasn't there some kind of growl to it too, Joe? I mean, it was, yeah, no shit. I'm not repeating that live on air, Joe, but yeah, that's a no shit. That's a no shit Sherlock. Windy day ran up yeah, that's knocked down the trees was just about a year before that. Yeah. So it was quite the experience. Anyway, he had quite the time of it. Anyhow, so I'm way past coming from the woods that I had never heard before. Yeah, there was growls. It was not quite a growl, but it was a sound of something, and it was not happy. It was not a happy being. And the Sasquatch, they surrounded, I remember that more now. They surrounded their environment. They put like not impregnable, a protective shield around them, because whatever this was, it was truly terrifying to them, and they didn't want anything to do with it. Something that big that can cloak that powerfully, it reminded me a lot of what the ET, certain races of ETs can do, but this was a specific kind of energy that was really scary. And I was like, man, not only watch your back, have your pointy sticks ready. So yeah, I mean, well, it's Joe's got some very serious paranormal stuff happening on his property from time to time, and that's no joke, folks. I can validate it. So, and I know other people that can too. So, anyway, on that note, I'm 2 hours 47 minutes, 17 minutes over. So I'm going to say goodnight for now. It's 12:53 in the morning here in the Pacific Northwest. It's officially August 31st, 2024. I hope you have a very good night. Remember, shift the dynamics, shift the frequency, shift the energy. Much love and respect to you. Take very good care of yourself. Get your water in and your electrolytes. July 31st. Yes. It's still early. Yes, I know, Tim, but I'm not going to be continuing with the live. I've done my 2 hours and now 48 minutes. So you're very welcome. Both Christine and Lynn and Para and Joe and Amy and everybody else that's come in. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, dear boy. Take very good care. I'll send you a message, Joe, because there's some things I'd like to talk about eventually about the property. Couldn't think. Anyway, take very good care. Remember, do some breathing, deep breath work. Negativity out. Good positive breath in. Get some laughter in. Change that frequency. Do things for yourself. Take care of yourself. Be very good to yourself. Bye, folks. Bye, guys. Bye, guys and gals. Take care.